What's up, everyone, and welcome to The Top 10, the podcast and countdown show where opinions clash and the lists are always legendary.
Hi, I'm Sweet Al, the one with a few more miles on his tires.
And I'm Stu, the guy with questionable taste and a mic he probably shouldn't have. Each week, we're going to do a brand new top 10 list at the end of the podcast. It's all sports all the time. So top players, top plays, teams, moments. If it's in the game, it's going to be on our list. We'll debate, we'll disagree, but we'll always keep it fun. So buckle up, hit subscribe, and let's jump into today's podcast and top 10 list. On the podcast today, we're going to be talking about our division winners in the NFC. And our list at the end of the podcast will be our favorite Patriot moments. Obviously, as you can tell, we're Pats guys, but our list won't always be Patriot stuff. But today, kind of for the first podcast ever, we want to do a favorite Patriots moments. So today we are going to do the NFC side of the division winners of who we think will be the division winners this coming year. So we are actually going to start in the NFC West today. I'll go first. I think it's the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win. I think they're going to go from start to finish. They got Davante Adams. They got the best head coach. Puka is hopefully going to be fully healthy this year. I know they lost Cooper Kupp, but I feel like Davante Adams is a good replacement. They got a top 5 running back in Kyren Williams, I know that's kind of some people don't agree with that, but I think it's going to be the Rams. I think it'll be a Rams from start to finish kind of thing. I don't love the Seahawks. I don't love Sam Darnold. I feel like he's kind of a downgrade from Geno Smith. I know some people might not think that after last year, but I don't. And, he's going to Seattle where he's not going to have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a great offensive line, and Kevin O'Connell, who's maybe the best play caller in the NFL or one of them. So I don't love the Seahawks. The Cardinals, I think, are just a dumpster fire. I see them being the bottom of the division this year. And then the Niners, where I know me and you disagree, I just don't see Brock Purdy. Without his cast of Avengers, I don't see Brock Purdy carrying them. So for me, I think this is a pretty easy one. I'm going to go the Rams, and I think it's going to be a start to finish for the Rams.
Well, the team in there should win us 49ers, but they're not going to. They're unfortunately last year took a bad dive. They've lost players they haven't replaced, and they had a ton of injuries. The injuries have got to get better for them to move up, but they're just not going to catapult that far. The Cardinals, they're going to take over in the basement. You look at their records just for 3 years is like 12 and 22, or for the last 2 years, and they haven't gotten better at anything. And they've added, a couple of top draft picks, and they got probably the best young receiver in the league with Junior there. Quarterback wise, Kyler Murray, he isn't what he was advertised to be. The Heisman Trophy takes you a long way in the NFL draft. It gets you up there high, and it gives you more of a chance than a lot of other quarterbacks will get. But I think his time is done. Barring a major turnaround, he's going to be back to sitting on his mom's couch playing video games instead of watching tape.
So do you think that if they have 5 or 6 wins this year, maybe even 7, do you think that they move on from Kyler? And I guess the coaching staff as well too, because I just mean the whole regime really, right? I mean, you keep Marvin Harrison, you keep Trey McBride, and is there really anyone else on that team? I mean, I guess maybe if Trey Benson pops this year at running back, do you keep him, or do you think it's just a clean sweep all the way through besides those 2, maybe 3 players?
I'd say you can probably build around the 3 because the big thing you have to get as a quarterback, number 1, you're going to rebuild, get the coach out there, take his whole staff with him. But you got to get a quarterback. So in a quarterback-rich draft, if you're bad, you're going to have a good draft pick, and there's 5 or 6 worthy guys coming out next year. Like this year, there was 1, Cam Ward. All the other guys got drafted in that. They weren't first-round caliber, if they're even NFL caliber players at all, quarterbacks. So that would be the key. I don't think they'll trade for it. I don't think they'll sign one in free agency. That can get very expensive. I think they'll try and have to draft one. complete new coaching staff, and start from scratch.
So what do you think they do though if say they're to finish 8-9 again like they did last year for Arizona, and they're out of that range where they can get a top, maybe even at least top 3 quarterback, maybe even top 5. Do you think that they go the route of keeping Kyler, or do you think they maybe try to find a cheaper option, like they find a vet for a year, kind of like Aaron Rodgers did this year with Pittsburgh?
What you'd have to do to see if they find the vet for a year is look 2 years down the road at the quarterback draft. And that's difficult to do, because 2 years ago, this quarterback draft would have been Carson Beck number 1, and the good old Texas boy.
Oh, Quinn Ewers, yeah.
Quinn Ewers would have been number 2. And some people had it the opposite way around, almost even to the start of the season. So that's hard to do. If they end up with a 10th or 12th draft pick, they can still trade. They can trade up. It's just harder to trade up if you're drafting, 28th or something. It's harder to trade up into a top 5 or 6 position. What they'd have to give up is, maybe their 10th overall pick in Kyler Murray.
I think if they could move into the top 3 and get a top 3 quarterback for Kyler Murray and the 10th overall pick, I think that's it would be so
for them. But that would be dependent on them getting so bad that they have the 10th overall pick. I mean, they're going to have to finish 22nd.
I could see them having a top 10 pick this year, especially if Kyler misses games again, because I mean, very rarely does Kyler stay healthy for a full year. Guy his size at quarterback, and he likes to run. It's always kind of one of those things that
he's taken a lot more hits than a lot of quarterbacks because of his.
The
problem with running quarterbacks is that they do take a lot more hits than regular quarterbacks. So it's like playing twice as many games.
Yeah.
And it's hard on their body, and they're not taking hits like a running back because they don't run in that kind of a position to protect themselves. They take like open field hits.
Well, I think when you look at Kyler, I mean, if you're talking about a guy like Josh Allen taking hits, Josh Allen's
6'6" and 250.
Yeah, a monster, right? You look at Kyler, like those guys. Even if you look at guys like Cam Newton, man, eventually those bodies, they just break down.
They do.
You can only take so many hits in the NFL.
Those quarterbacks do not play till they're 40.
No, even Josh Allen, I worry about him. I don't know how much longer he'll have taken those kind of hits that he takes, but
he'll have to get smarter and do that. But yeah, that's Atlanta's, Arizona's problem there, and sitting at 12-22 and for their last 24 games is it's just not good, and they're not doing anything enough to improve it. Maybe they feel like they're stuck with Kyler Murray. Maybe they're going to give him one more chance this time. Kind of shocked their head coach is back, but I guess they're going to give him one more year too. Move on to a more modern style of offensive coaching, and that might even help Kyler if that's what they end up doing. So those two teams are out. Then there's the Seahawks. Well, the Seahawks last year, they have a certain record, but that was with Geno Smith. So being 10-7 with Geno Smith, and then losing arguably your top receiver and your quarterback. Now you bring in Darnold. Darnold had a great year last year, but as you said, Jordan Addison, Jefferson. Yeah. I mean, and great coaching and definitely it was a situation that could make a lot of higher mid-range quarterbacks like him look like a high-range quarterback.
Yes.
And whether or not he can double that again in Seattle, whether he can repeat that and copy that is a big question mark. It's doable, it's possible, but not good enough to beat what LA has already in stone.
I think that with him going to Seattle, though, you're going to an outdoor stadium from a dome. You're going from Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones and a great offensive line to basically JSN. I'm not a big Kenneth Walker fan. I feel like he's been a guy that hasn't hit his potential in the NFL yet. I just think Sam Darnold is due for a massive regression in play from last year. And I'm honestly not sure why he picked the Seahawks. I don't know if that was his only team. I just feel like the Seahawks are not a great...
Someone comes knocking with $20 million, you answer the door.
Yeah, and he ended up getting, I think, 66 or something, whatever it was over those years.
Well, you said Kenneth Walker hasn't hit his stride yet. And I think that's important because They'll give him a year. They'll give him this year.
Well, this will be what I think year 3 or 4 for him.
This is it. He either hits it or, and running backs are a dime a dozen in the NFL. They're not very well respected. They're thrown out every year. Every year there will be a guy who had 1,000 yards last year who doesn't have a team this year.
Yeah, when you go from 1,000 yards to
so you really got to step it up. And I'm not a big JSN fan, but he'll get his chance. He is going to get Cooper Kupp, but an old Cooper Kupp.
A very old Cooper Kupp,
So that's going to be different. And then that just leaves the Rams winning by default. And there's nothing about that team that will make them lose. Even if they don't win all their games, even if they don't have the best record of in the whole AFC or NFC there, they will still have enough to win the game or to win that division.
Yeah. So we're both going to go with the Rams.
It's going to be the Rams, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the NFC South division we're a little familiar with just from TB12 going down to Tampa for a couple of years there. In the South last year, the Bucs did win it. They won it with a 10-7 record. Do you see the Bucs repeating again?
Yeah, there's nothing there that's going to challenge the Bucs. It's kind of like the Rams thing. Falcons, Panthers, Saints. Falcons, they got to get their shit together. That may be the Falcons. Probably are the most talented shitty team in the league. Offensively,
yes,
they're the most talented shitty team in the league. So, do they get it together? Well, they're going to bring Penix in.
Well, he's going to be their starter for sure,
and that's going to be the thing. Was he worth that draft pick? Obviously, they way overpaid for Kirk Cousins. They can't dump his ass anywhere but the bench.
Yeah, he's probably going to be riding the bench this year.
And maybe he'll step up to the plate and be a mentor. Maybe he'll lose that massive ego of his and actually be a mentor and help the kid out.
I wouldn't bank on that.
They're still not going to be good enough. I think the Buccaneers went 10-7 last year. I think they'll go more like 11-6 this year. I think they'll win a game or two more this year than they did last year. And then that leaves, of course, the Saints, which are in the bottom, and that's what they are. I mean, Olave comes into the league, and if you're a dynasty or a fantasy player, gotta get Olave. Well, now he's one concussion away from wearing a crash helmet and drooling. He's in bad shape, guys. I mean, this guy's he's in bad shape.
He's in bad shape. That's
he's two alike. He's like two alike or worse.
I think he's worse. He's had 5 major concussions where he's missed significant time. And the thing is Tua can kind of at least maybe protect himself in the pocket if he remembers not to run. But Olave, man, when you're out there, if a DB grabs you by the arms and throws you down, you can't. That one, I can't remember who they were playing when Olave was in the end zone, and he caught that ball. And the DB grabs him and swings him around, and he goes face first into it. And you can just see it's like, as a wide receiver, you just cannot protect yourself in those situations. No. And I think since college, he's had 5 major concussions where he's missed substantial time.
Well, to be a receiver in the NFL, you got to catch balls. And the second he catches that ball, he's going to get hit.
Yeah.
And he's going to get hit hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the NFL players are dirty. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pool to see who puts Chris Olave into retirement. Because it probably is going to be the next big hit.
I think if he gets one more hit the way that he's sustained, I think that he should be considering retirement.
And they have a list of other injuries.
Oh, yeah.
And then they drafted Brandon Weeden II there, a 26 or 27-year-old quarterback.
Oh, yeah, Tyler Shough, yeah.
And they said they liked the way he played in college. Of course, he was playing against boys. He's a 26-year-old man playing against 18, 19-year-old boys. Geez, and after 7 years in college, he actually had a good year. Duh! But they drafted him based on that. I like Tyler Shough. I like as a person stuff, but I think he gets killed in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that for Tyler, it's going to be tough sledding for him. The Saints are bad. They got a good, maybe got a good young head coach, and then you can't. The problem is their 2 best players you can't count on being in the field for a full season, Olave and Kamara, and you just can't count on those guys being out there for 17 full games. And I think it's one of those things where I thought they should have tried to trade Olave in the offseason and get whatever they could for him.
I don't think anybody wants him. It's too much risk.
I think they should have tried to trade Kamara last year. I don't think they should have repaid him. I thought they should have maybe a contender like KC or...
You might see a contender pick Kamara up late this season, I think.
The problem is that they just re-signed him. So now you're gonna have to pay him. I think it was at least 2 years, and it's
Right, 2 years.
You're gonna have to find a team.
But if you are like,
I thought Dallas should have went out and got him.
Yeah,
Because Dallas, they needed a running back. Dallas can, I think, maybe contend in that division, but with the Saints, I mean,
Dallas contend.
We'll
get to that.
With the Saints, I'm not really sure what they're doing. So, yeah, I don't see the Saints being up there either.
So and it's not even the Buccaneers by default. The Buccaneers are that good; they're going to win that division.
I got the same feeling. The Buccaneers, I don't think it's very close. The only thing I can see is that the Falcons better hope they strike gold. I thought they should have fired their coach, Raheem Morris, this year. I thought they should have brought in Bill Belichick to run that defense, because that defense, for having a defensive head coach, that defense is not very good. Belichick is the one guy that can turn trash into treasure on the defensive side of the ball.
Belichick can do that, but
it's the offensive side you got to worry.
In today's sensitive society, Belichick might not be looked upon highly by players. If he was going somewhere where everybody was serious about turning this thing around, he would be a saint.
I think in Atlanta you'd have to bring in an offensive guy with him, and Belichick would have to give up all say on the offensive side.
Hands off.
Yeah, he'd have to bring in a guy like Josh McDaniels that he trusts, that is his guy that he's been with, or a guy like Billy O. He'd have to bring Bill O'Brien with him, and he'd have to let the reins go on the offensive side of the ball. I just don't know if Belichick can do that, but I don't think Raheem Morris and that coaching staff are going to be those guys that get you to anything. And for me, I like the Panthers. I like what they've done. They're not there yet. Bryce Young's got to build on last year. And then, like you said, the Saints are just a dumpster fire. So for me, I mean, this can be a quick one. I think it's the Bucs, and I don't even think it's relatively close. I think the Bucs get out at the start of the year, and I think they lead the division.
I think they have a better record. Last year they went 10-7. I can see them winning 11, maybe even 12 games this year.
I could see it too. I could see some of those.
They should win 6 games in their division. They should beat those 3 teams twice.
They should. Usually the Falcons end up stealing one no matter how bad they are. It's kind of like the Pats with the Dolphins. No matter how good they were, it was fucking Dolphins. But okay, so we both got the Rams for the West and the Bucs for the South. So we'll do the NFC North. We'll leave the East to last because the East is going to be the good one. So for the NFC North, last year you had the Vikings win it with a 15-2 record. You had the
Lions won it.
The Lions won it with 15-2. Sorry, the Vikings were 14-3. But the Vikings are going to be starting a rookie quarterback this year. So how do you see that division kind of shaking out?
I love J.J. McCarthy, and before the college football playoffs, he was ranked like 52nd in the draft. And after the college football, they had him ranked around 10th, 11th. He was my favorite guy in the college football that year. I thought he was the best guy to get. So they spent the draft pick on him, and he got injured before he played. So we don't know anything about him in the NFL yet. And that's always a knock. He played at Michigan. Michigan was the champs. It's always good as a quarterback to look good. It's always easy to look good on a team that's better than everybody else. Somebody say, they could have put their 9-year-old grandson, Bill Belichick, could have put his 9-year-old grandson out as receiver and had 10 touchdowns. So those kinds of things, when you can attract the lineman that Michigan can attract, the defense that Michigan attract to get you the ball back over and over and over.
Especially with Harbaugh there too. Harbaugh really brought stability into that organization again.
Yeah, and he had everybody's parents tell him, going to Michigan, you're going to Michigan. You're going to go play for Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And he did it. He pulled off the title. I don't care any of this shit about stealing signs and all this nonsense.
Fuck. They all do it.
Going on for 50 years.
He just got caught. That was the problem. He got caught.
Of course you're stealing their signs.
They all do it. It's the same. They do it in every sport.
But so I love JJ, but he is the unknown. Vikings went 14-3 without him. That's a tough act to have to come into let's call him a rookie because it's what he'll be.
This is his rookie year to me.
So that's a tough act to follow.
Do you think though, with how bad Sam Darnold was, that in the NFL, do you not think that JJ should be able to come in and play comparable?
All right.
To him?
Number one, don't give me no shit about any quarterback that comes out of New York, whether it's the Jets or the Giants, being shit. because they come from shit. When you get out of that manure pile at the corner of your dad's farm, you're going to be covered in manure. You got a chance to have a shower, and Zach Wilson's going to be in Miami this year. He might see some playing time, and I think you'll see a totally different guy than what played on the Jets. They just ruin their quarterbacks. They kill them. They make them crap.
Yeah, but I mean,
so Darnold did well. But again, he was put into a golden position.
That's how I kind of look at JJ. Is like, I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know if there's ever been a rookie quarterback that has come into a better situation.
Oh,
they spent so much money shoring up that defense. They got the offensive linemen. They got maybe the best duo.
That's why a lot of times it's best not to be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, ninth pick. You love getting picked 12th, 18th, 19th because you're already a team that should be on either going up or down one way or the other, right?
Well, you look at Mahomes, right, when he got drafted to KC, right? They were on their way up. Yeah. Andy Reid coming in there and all those guys. But I think that McCarthy can play at a Sam Darnold level in his rookie year. I don't think that's asking too much. I don't know if that equates to 14 wins again this year, but I think I could see him having very comparable stats to what Darnold had last year. Touchdown, and I think he's going to have a few more turnovers because he is a rookie, and you go through those growing pains where sometimes he throws those 3 interceptions in a game, and you look at him like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But I think he's going to have at least comparable stats.
Yeah. I'm not sure they'll win quite as many games here, just simply because of that. And then what do we do if JJ's injury isn't quite healed? Or what do we do if he goes down again? You look at Jimmy Garoppolo. I've literally watched from 30 feet away him and Tom Brady throwing balls together before a game. And they're mechanically, perfectly, exactly the same. It's just uncanny when we would watch those two in the pregame warm-ups. But Jimmy was made of glass. Every time he went down, he got injured.
Well, it's the best ability is availability, right? And Tom, take out his ACL year, Tom never missed games.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that was able to stay healthy. Jimmy, we saw that one hit. Who was it against when Brady was on his Deflategate suspension? And they hit him on the sideline. It looked like nothing. And
he was
popped
out.
his shoulder out.
He was out.
And then
that was the beginning of his constant injury battle.
Yeah, he was a guy that in the NFL he just never.
Jacoby Brissett got his chance to step in.
Yeah, and played with that busted-ass thumb of his against Houston. They put up 50 on him.
Remember, they still went 3-0, and then they lost the fourth game.
Yeah.
But they were just clawing, trying to get to 2-2 without Brady.
Yeah.
But so you got if JJ's going to be in that kind of shape, he's not going to put up Darnold numbers. If he's coming in fresh, if they did the right thing, which it looks like they did.
I think giving him that full year on that injury.
And I think that was the right thing.
I think so too. I think they looked at it. They said that Darnold can hold the reins for a year. I don't think that they expected to do a 14-3 record. I think that was kind of a shock even to them.
It's testament to their team and their coaching on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah, I still think that they have one of the best head coaches. But
well, then you got another great head coach, and we go with Green Bay.
Yes,
LaFleur's a super likable guy, pretty smart guy, but again, you got a team riddled with injury.
And now does Jordan Love, is he going to get that he is uber talented but always hurt? Is he going to get that? Maybe is he going to get that this year? Like he's got to stay healthy. They paid him a lot of money off of one season.
Yeah.
Because I know that they say, oh, he was with us for 4 years prior. Yeah, he was, or 3 years prior, but he played for 1 year. They paid him a bunch of money, and then he was always hurt. He wasn't the same when he came back from those injuries. Like he tried to rush too much. So Green Bay is going to have.
I think Green Bay has more wide receivers on their roster than anybody right now. And they're carrying like 14 wide receivers or something into camp.
They took Bo Melton from wide receiver and put him at cornerback because they cut Jair Alexander, and they only have 2 corners, so they're super thin. So Green Bay for me is a team that I can see Green Bay taking a big step back.
It's possible. Romeo Doubs he's another one that's
he's always
have to be really, really careful with your injury situations there.
And Christian Watson, I mean that he's got Swiss cheese hamstrings, dude. That dude he's always hurt.
Yeah.
Always hurt.
And these guys are that would be like top year. They would be $1,000 a guy game.
Oh yeah,
guys, they would be 1,000-yard in a season if they stayed healthy. They'd probably have 3 or 4. Now they brought in the money man.
Oh, Matthew Golden, yeah.
Matthew Golden and his dollar signs. Matthew Golden's an interesting one because he rose late in the year in the college the college football draft standings. He skyrocketed. But when you watched him, you see why it happened. He was incredible.
He's going to have to take over that alpha role, though, because I don't think
they need a number one.
Yeah, and I know they were talking about Reed there, but no one last year stuck out. When you watch Green Bay, it was like they had a bunch of wide receiver threes. Yeah. Maybe, I think Reed could be a good number 2, but Golden's going to have to come in and he's going to have to dominate early.
So Matthew comes in. He had that blazing 4.2 or 40 or 4.29. I think it was 4.29 40 that he ran which is incredibly fast. I don't put an awful lot of faith in the 4.40 because he's running with no football equipment on. He's not running on a field. He's running on a running path, and he's running straight without getting hit.
The combine itself, I don't put a lot of stock into. I mean, you've seen guys have just garbage combines, and then they're
stellar careers.
Players. But then you see
what was that guy that couldn't run the 4.40? Brady or something? Was that his name?
And
worst 40 ever. If you've never seen Tom Brady's combine, look at worst 40 ever.
And then you got guys that have great combines, and then they just never pan out in the NFL.
The truth is, the fastest receivers have rarely panned out in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fast, but there's a lot more to it. Tyreek Hill's the exception.
I think. I mean, we had one with the Pats with Tyquan Thornton. He never panned out.
No.
I don't think to date so far. I don't think Xavier Worthy's worked
he hasn't
out
yet.
Great.
He'll get more of a chance though.
I think he'll be a good wide receiver too once Rashee Rice comes back. But when you're drafting those receivers that high, you're hoping those guys are number ones.
Yeah.
And those speed guys, man, sometimes the speed doesn't necessarily translate great to the NFL field. So,
but watching Matthew in the college football right up to the playoffs and that, he had the hands. He's a football player. He's a receiver that can find the ball, and he doesn't have stickum on his gloves, but sometimes it looks like he does with some of the catches that he makes. So that's a big improvement. But I just don't think it's improvement enough. And until the injury situation is settled and the defense is figured out, Green Bay's, they're just not going to match. I mean, we're talking about the Vikings, Packers. The Bears, again, the Bears at the bottom, very, very much improved. They might go past the Packers this year, but they're a few years away from challenging for the top. Because when you got the Vikings at 14-3 and not even winning the division, then you've got your Detroit Lions. If you want to pick a team from the end to go to the Super Bowl, the Lions is probably the preseason favorite. It's going to be the Lions or
Philly from that side, probably
the repeat Philly which I don't think happens, but if it is, it's gonna. But the Lions they're gonna have that division, 15-2. They could have been 16-1. They might not be that good this year in terms of win-loss, but they'll be that good of a team. And even if they lost 2 more than they lost last year, they're still winning that division.
Yeah, so you're going to go with the Lions then?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's an interesting division. I think all 3 teams, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers, I think they're all going to have less wins than they did last year. And I think that the Bears are going to have more wins than they did. But I see the division finishing the exact same. I see it going the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and then the Bears.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams better show that he has at least something in that chamber, because they've done everything this offseason for him. They got Luther Burden. They got 3 interior linemen. They went out and hired Ben Johnson. I mean, I don't know what else do you need. They got Loveland for him at tight end. What else? You've got decent running backs in Swift. I mean, I don't love them or anything like that, but with the rest of that team, I think that Caleb's got to get to at least 8 wins this year. He's got to get 3 more wins, and he's got to get some of those moments where you go, oh, shit, that's why you were the number 1 drafted quarterback and one of the highest hype prospects. Because last year, you didn't really see those. Yeah.
Well, Caleb was ranked number 1 2 years before he was drafted, and he won that much like Trevor from Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence there, yeah.
Trevor and Caleb both won the Heisman Trophy, but still had to play college football for another year. They didn't win the Heisman Trophy 2 years in a row, but they were already ranked number one because they were the Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah. We talked about that with Kyler Williams. The Heisman Trophy takes you a long way
Kyler Murray,
in the NFL.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said Kyler Williams. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, so yeah. But so those guys, Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams, and they both kind of stuttered into their career. They're not terrible by any means, but they're not looking like a number one pick. Well, and Caleb this year, there's no more excuses. You've already learned what you could do in college that you can't do in the NFL. Most of that being running whenever you want to. He's already learned he can't do that. Now they've brought in assets to protect him. They've got him linemen to help protect him. So it's up to him now. They've put the ball in his hands literally. It's up to him to show that he is that guy. Make smart decisions, make better throws, read defenses better.
First off, Trevor Lawrence has been awful in the NFL. I don't care what anyone says.
He's a mid-range. He's a mid-range quarterback. He's like probably QB 16.
Oh, I think he's bottom 7, bottom 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. But I think this division, I think it stays the exact same. I think the Lions should win it. Hopefully they can avoid all those injuries again that they had. I know Hutchinson's supposed to be coming back. It looks like he's already been practicing with the team and OTAs and whatnot. So hopefully...
And if you like the rumor mill, Detroit's favored to land a big defensive player this week.
Yeah, they're saying TJ Watt might get traded there, but I can't see it. I think with Pittsburgh signing Aaron Rodgers, they're going to pay TJ Watt. He'll be a Steeler for life. I think there's Cam Hayward's going to be another Steeler for life. I think you're going to have those guys. We'll talk Pittsburgh on the next podcast.
Well, here's a question for you. If you're TJ Watt, do you want to go to Detroit?
Absolutely.
You bet you do.
Get me the fuck out of Pittsburgh.
It's not just getting out of Pittsburgh. You're going to a very likely Super Bowl contender.
You're
going to make that team better.
If they get TJ Watt, I would pick them because you're going to have Watt and Hutchinson. That means you could bring Hutchinson along even a little bit slower. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're TJ Watt, no brainer.
That's why I think it happens.
Okay, so we both picked the Lions. Wow, we haven't picked a different one yet. All right.
Oh, here we go.
NFC East. So last year you had Philly win it at 14-3. Obviously, they went on to win the Super Bowl. And then you had the Commanders with a rookie come out of nowhere. And I believe they went 12-5, if I remember correctly.
12-5.
And boy, did he look like something special. He kind of looked like Caleb was supposed to look.
Yes.
And now I will say, I believe I heard this week that the Commanders are the oldest team in the NFL. So
really?
Yeah, so Terry's going to be 31 at the start of the year. He's looking for a new deal. He's sounds like he's going to hold out until he gets his deal. You got Jane Daniels.
Debo.
They got Debo, but again, it's 2025 Debo, not 2021 Debo, so I always worry about that. He was another guy. I know he played wide receiver, but geez, his body took a beating like a running back with the way that they used to use him in San Fran. In that division, how do you see all of that shaking out?
Well, I think this is the best division in football. Not because they got the best teams, but just because there's one thing you don't want to do when you bet on a football game. Do not bet on an interdivisional game in the NFC East. Do not. Because the shit team almost always beats the good team. And no matter how good the good team is and how bad the shit team is, the shit team wins so many of those games. Those guys kill each other in that division. First of all, throw the Giants out. Garbage.
So
take the trash out.
So hang on. So before we move off the Giants, because I'm going to be the same way with you. With the draft that they had this year, they got the kid out of Penn State.
Abdul Carter.
Yes, they got Abdul Carter. They got probably the best defensive line in football with those four that they got up there. They traded back up and got Jackson Dart. Do you think that Brian Daboll loses his job if they get off to a bad start? Because the Giants they're going to have a gauntlet to go through. I mean, the NFC East alone, like they might go 0-6 in the NFC East alone.
I think the reason that they drafted Jackson Dart is for the coach and the general manager to keep their job for one more year. Because now they can say, well, look, man, we brought this guy in. Give us a year at this. We got the next.
But it sounds like he's
Justin Herbert here or something.
It sounds like he's not even going to start. From at least everything I've seen. I mean, again, not big Giants.
I think he was overdrafted. That's just my opinion.
They're going to start.
But when all you got is Cam Ward, and make no mistake about it, all along Cam Ward to me was number one. He's got all the football ability, and number two, who they was saying was Shador or whatever, but whoever number two was way behind Cam Ward.
There was definitely a drop for me. Cam Ward was the clear number one quarterback in this draft, and then I had number two as Dart or Shador. I thought it could go either way. I didn't think it really mattered, which is probably not a good thing if you're a team and you're looking to get drafted. But I think Dart has
the Giants wanted Shador, again, it's all rumor mill. You read this, you read that. It's all kind of rumor mill. But some of the unnamed New York Giants said it was all about the interview. He said he just bombed that interview so bad the way he came in there. And sometimes I wonder about that. Well, you're looking for a future quarterback. You're looking for a future superstar. What's wrong with somebody who thinks he's so damn good? Because But I don't. My dislike for Shador simply lands on the fact that he played high school football for his dad. He played college football for his dad. His dad's an international superstar who could get whatever he wanted wherever he went.
I think that's...
And all the plays were tailored for him. And when you have a 75% completion rate, which by the way was by far better than anybody else in college football, including Cam Ward, by far. But you took a lot of sacks. So are you taking sacks because you don't want to throw the ball away and hurt your stats?
Yeah, what was it?
Or are you taking stats because you're that bad? You played against a weak team. Every play is designed for you and your strength.
Well, and they had he also had the second overall pick on that offense too to help him, right?
Yeah. Well, potentially first.
Well,
if he would have said he was going to be a receiver, which I think he will.
Yeah.
But that's what the Giants wanted. So they're going. I think it's a coaching and a general manager's decision to say to the ownership, well, you give us another year. We got this guy. Because obviously those two are out at some point. It's barring the Giants winning that division.
I still think
they're out.
I think it'd be a mistake to fire Daboll. I do. Daboll's proven what he can do in that division.
I think it would be a good thing for Daboll to get fired.
Oh, if I was Daboll, I'd want out of there. I mean, that the GM is giving you nothing to work with. Daniel Jones, I mean, I think that the downfall of Daboll was he was such a good fucking coach that he got Daniel Jones to the playoffs and won a game in the playoffs. And I think
you realize he gets a lot of credit for your favorite guy, Josh Allen.
Oh yeah,
he gets a lot of credit for.
I think he was
Josh
one of the
Allen
big ones that turned Allen around. But I think that Daboll's early success fucked him long run because they saw Daniel Jones and they said, well, if he can get Daniel Jones to do this, he's only gonna make he's got the Josh Allen type body, yeah, but he wasn't a Josh Allen type talent. Allen's got a rocket ship attached to that shoulder of his, and Daniel Jones doesn't. And Josh Allen, I mean, just look at him like Josh Allen is way more athletic.
Yeah.
He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. You can tell he just reads defenses so much quicker.
He just looks like that big dumb fuck that goes into a bar in Alabama and picks a fight with the 6 biggest guys in there and wins.
But for me,
he's that big and strong.
Oh yeah, but Daniel Jones, I mean, I think that if I was Daboll, I would. I mean, no coach wants to get fired. That's the thing. But I think that Daboll needs to get out of New York. And unless he can turn back the clock on Russell Wilson, or they lose the first 5 games so bad that he brings in Dart, he goes 500, but Dart looks like he's a superstar in the making. Maybe they keep him. But I mean, Brian Daboll, he can't wait too long to put Dart in, but he can't put him in too early either. And I think it's going to be a tough one, and I feel for Brian Daboll because I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think it's going to be hard to replace him if you're New York, and I think he'll be the first coach taken in next year's coaching carousel when he goes to a new team. But I do think.
That being said, the Giants still finish in the basement.
Oh yeah, I don't think that they've got enough.
The Cowboys were second from the basement of that division at 7-10. They're better than that.
Well, Dak missed all those games too, right?
Yeah, they're better than that, but they're the Cowboys, and let's be honest, they just they'll find a way to lose. They'll find a way to lose. No matter what it is.
They'll win in the regular season. They'll find
I
a way
love
to lose
CeeDee
in the
Lamb,
playoffs.
amazing talent. I actually think Dak's a great quarterback. They do everything to bring people in and put them around them.
Yeah.
But they just find a way to lose. And even if they get to the playoffs, they're like our blue and white team up here in Canada in hockey. They're like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Best team on paper, number one during the season. Out in the first round of the playoffs every single year.
Yeah.
They'll take you 7 games, but they'll go out. They'll get up 3-1, and they'll lose a best-of-7 final. And the Cowboys are just the same. They just have found a stumbling, bumbling way to lose no matter how good they actually are.
I like Dak a lot, but...
Stu once told me that the only 2 things that would survive a nuclear war...
There's 3.
Cockroaches, Leafs fans.
There's 3.
And Dallas Cowboy fans. And when the Cowboy fans come out of the rubble and they dig their way out and they look up and they see the sun, the first thing they're going to say is, "This is our year."
So we got the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're from Ontario, Canada, and we got the Toronto Maple Leafs up here. And if any of you listeners know the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know that their fan base is the most fan base.
Delusional.
So I kind of took what Stephen A. Smith used to say, add a little bit. I said there's 3 things that will survive a nuclear blast. You got cockroaches, Cowboy fans, and Toronto Maple Leaf fans. And at the end of the day, after that bomb goes off and they poke their heads out of the sewers and they look at each other, the first words that they would mumble to each other is, "This is going to be our year. This is our year. We're going to win." And I cannot stand that fan base. I can't stand either fan base. When I'll tell you a quick story. When me, my girlfriend, and my sister, we went to a Dallas Cowboy game in Gillette Stadium there, and Brady was actually still there. And we got there, and I told my girlfriend, I said, "These are the most annoying, obnoxious, loud, stupid idiots for fans that you will ever see." And she didn't believe me, and it was her first football game that we ever went to. And so we get there, and of course we're sat beside Cowboy fans. Well, at the end of the game, the Patriots ended up winning 13-9. I actually think it was N'Keal Harry's probably his only touchdown catch with us.
Yep.
And we're on our way out of the stadium, and we got 2 Cowboy fans in front of us. And they kept talking about they're going to we're walking, and they're talking about how they almost beat the Patriots. And I looked at them, I said, "But you still lost." "Yeah, but we almost had to go. That's what they said. "We almost had to go." Oh, that fan base. If I ever go to Dallas and people see this, I know I'll get chased out. But I can't fucking stand Cowboy fans. I mean, Stephen A. Smith may hate them, but I just, up and down, them and the Toronto Maple Leaf fans, both those franchises should play in the same city and put all their fans in the same city so fucking no one else has to hear them. So they're not spread out. Those 2 fan bases can go live in Toronto or Dallas, and it would just be the city that you'd never have to go into to ever hear one of those fans ever again.
I could remind my son, in case you guys missed it, this is my son, I'm the father. There was a day, I don't know how old he was, young teens, and he comes home, and he's got a Dallas Cowboys sweater on.
It was a Terrell Owens jersey.
It doesn't matter. It was jersey, sweater,
and I like
junk. It's
like I said, I love the players. I still think Dak is one of my favorite players in the NFL. All the shit that he's gone through.
I kicked him out. I made him go live with his mom until he smartened up.
All the shit that Dak went through with his mom and his brothers and losing them and all the shit he does for. I love the players that Dallas has. The players I got no problem with. I like Micah Parsons. I know people care about his podcast. I really could give a shit less if he talks to people. CeeDee Lamb. I love CeeDee Lamb. Love Dak. It's just those fucking fans. Those damn fans. Those damn Dallas Cowboy fans. And it only pisses me off so much, too, is because we got the same thing 2 hours from where we live, and we have to listen to them all the time. So, those damn Cowboy fans. Anyway, sorry about that rant.
America's team, my ass. That's, yeah. So, Cowboys, they're out, too. So, it comes to 2 teams, right? It comes to Washington Commanders, Philadelphia Eagles. So, a 14-3 Eagles team and a 12-5 Commanders team last year. I think the Eagles deserve their 14-3. I think Washington probably deserved to be one more game win, but Philadelphia has lost some players, and Washington has gained. And I think Washington has gained much more than what Philadelphia lost. And I think the script flips this year. Plus, I'm not sure of the stat, but it's been a zillion years since someone's won that division 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I think like 20.
It's just like this. Yeah. It's just the most. I don't want to say unstable division in there, but the most unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
Most unpredictable. Every game in that division is unpredictable. How they finish, how they do in the playoffs it's just unpredictable. Yeah. So I think Jaden Daniels, was mentioned earlier, is what Caleb Williams was supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's a highlight film. He is. Try trading for him in a fantasy league. See what they want.
Yeah.
You better have a vintage Corvette to trade to get Jaden Williams for a year.
Jaden Daniels.
William Daniels. So I think that I still think the addition of Debo is huge. Their running game came along great near the end of last year. Terrible Terry, I think he's still top notch. I don't want to see him sit out. I don't like that kind of an ego trip. Well, but these guys want to get paid, and there's an argument for him to get paid.
This is his first. Everyone always thought Terry McLaurin was a top wide receiver, but then they go, well, look at his quarterback play. He's going to be 31 this year, and finally at age 30, he had that year where you were like, there's that talent we thought he had for the
game
last
after game,
9 years, yeah. Right? And I think that if I was a player, man, I'm trying to get paid if I'm him too. I don't hate it. And you know what, too? Washington should be paying him because Daniels is on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
So
if they had to pay him back, go back and say, okay, where you landed, where you finished as a wide receiver. And let's use fantasy points as a benchmark because it's a good benchmark. People around you were making this much and you were making this much.
Well, I think
he should be,
The problem was he was always like wide receiver 15-ish in fantasy, but everyone always looked at him and they're
still the best player in Washington.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for how many years was it it's Terry McLaurin and they just didn't.
And he won. Else. He literally, what a receiver should do. A number one receiver should win you some games, and he did win them.
Oh, yeah.
Some games.
Yeah. So you think the Commanders are going to...
I think the Commanders go on top of the Eagles. Not a bash on the Eagles. I just think they're not going to do as well. I don't think they've been able to replace what they've lost, whereas Washington has just gained. And I think the script at the top there flips. Washington won their last 5 games. Think of that. They were 7-5. And they won their last 5 games. And I think that shows how much Washington was improving last year already. And, you look at the coaching staff.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, right?
No.
So they still got Dan Campbell. They still got...
Dan Quinn?
Dan Quinn, and they got... What's his name as the offensive coordinator there? Arizona's ex-head coach there.
Oh, yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff
Kingsbury. Yeah.
So they've just... I just think they're going up. They're going up. That 5-game win streak at the end of the year was not easy games. It was not a coincidence. It was coaching, teaming, calling. These guys all getting their shit together as a team for their first year all together. And Jaden Daniels, I think he's the real thing. I think he's going to be as good next year as he is this year. He doesn't have to be any better if he can be as good.
So you don't worry about that sophomore slump, though, eh?
No.
So you're going to take them. I kind of got a different team. I think, and it's going to be a weird one. I think it's going to be the Cowboys at the top of that division again this year. I think the Commanders take a step back. I always worry about that sophomore slump. Everyone, I don't know if you guys remember, but a year ago in the offseason, before last season started, what was everyone saying? CJ Stroud, never seen a rookie like it. CJ Stroud, never. And then what happened this year? They took a big step. It's hard. Once defensive coordinators in the NFL have all of that film on you, it becomes a lot harder to replicate that.
Especially running quarterbacks.
Yes, and I think...
They will find ways to contain you.
Oh, yeah. And I think, for me, so if Philly wins the division, I'm not going to be surprised. If Philly comes in and Philly puts up 15 wins this year, I'm not going to be shocked. Howie Roseman seems to be fucking Harry Houdini when what he gets for draft picks, and taking Jihad Campbell like with the second last or last pick in the draft this year in the first round was maybe the biggest steal of day one. And so if the Eagles come back and win, but for me it's, can Saquon Barkley have 350 some odd carries, and can he do that back-to-back years?
I would tell you no, but then if you asked me if Saquon Barkley was going to be any good last year, I probably would have said, nah, the Giants ruined him.
And that's what a lot of people thought.
He just exploded last year.
And for me, it's so I'll take Dallas. I think as long as Dak stays healthy, which again is a big if. But if Philadelphia wins it, and I think if Philadelphia puts up 16 wins this year, I wouldn't be shocked by it. I would be like, yeah, okay, they're that good. I think, again, I would not pick the Cowboys in the first round.
Would you like to make a wager on that?
No, because I would not like to pick, and I would not pick the Cowboys come playoff time. I think that the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys will win the NFC East, but I also think that the Cowboys might be the worst team in the playoffs because they've just shown it time and time again that what they do under Mike McCarthy, 12, 12, and 12, and they're out every single time in the first round.
And they blame the coach.
And so for me, the Cowboys are a great regular season team, and I think Jerry's put enough talent there. Maybe minus the running back spot, which I don't love for them. I think Jerry's put enough talent around there. I like Dak. I love CD. They got George Pickens, so they finally have a number 2 there. They've got the 3 Tylers on the interior offensive line there. They drafted Tyler Booker, I believe, out of Alabama. I just think that Dallas looks like it's primed to make a run again. However, if Philly wins the division, and if Philly puts up 15 or 16 wins again this year, wouldn't shock me one bit. But you always got to wonder. So now Philly's going to see what KC experienced. Because what is it? Back-to-back years, they went to the Super Bowl, right? Because did they lose to
Tampa Bay?
No, Philly. Oh, Philly lost to Tampa the year prior, right? So, but in the last 3 years, Philly's played a lot of football because they went Super Bowl and they lost against KC. Then they went back to the playoffs. They lost against Tampa. And then this year they went back to the Super Bowl and they just stomped the shit out of KC. So Philly's going to see now, you're in year 4 of playing a lot of football. Those things start to... I mean, look at what happened to Brady and the Pats. They won those 3, and then what was it? How many years was it between Super Bowls? 14 years or whatever it was?
No, it wasn't that far, but it was
12?
Like 7.
No, it would have been 12 because they won their last one in 2005. So 10 years, 10, 11 years it would have been, yeah. So that's what I mean. It's one of those things where it's like, Philly's going to see it. It's going to be hard to play that much football.
The other thing with being a team that good, and especially when you finally get to the promised land and win, is that you got a lot of guys that want to start getting paid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did do a good job of keeping their offense. I thought they were going to have to trade A.J. Brown this offseason. Seems like those rumors have pretty much died. It seems like he's not going anywhere.
I don't think they could get what they wanted for him.
I don't think so either, but they kept Saquon. They repaid Saquon. They got AJ.
And by the way, I am just thrilled with what Saquon got.
Oh,
not
yes.
that I'm a Barkley fan, not that I'm a Philly fan, but these running backs have been so underpaid.
Oh, they've been getting
for so long.
They got rooked
for so long, and they're the ones winning the games. They're the ones taking the hits. I mean, you be a running back and you teach your kid to be a running back in the NFL. Your kid's 12 years old. Put a helmet on him. Tell him to run up against your garage door as hard as he can 23 times every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
that's what they're facing.
Watching him and Derrick Henry get paid this offseason.
Absolutely deserved. Yes. Absolutely deserved
and that's what I mean.
He did.
So if Philadelphia, if Saquon has another 1,500-yard year this year, I wouldn't be shocked. And like I said, if Philly wins that division, I wouldn't be shocked. I just think that the Cowboys are primed to bounce back. They haven't played a lot of football lately. And Dak should hopefully be healthy. They got George Pickens. They finally have a wide receiver too. And I know that this might be
George Pickens. So
I know, but for me, CeeDee Lamb is wide receiver. I know this.
2?
I know people might not like this. I think he's wide receiver 1.
I'll give him a 2.
I think if you put, I don't think you can put him outside the top 3. I think it's him, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I think those are the top 3 wide receivers.
And Jamar has had a fairly healthy Joe Burrow throwing to him all year, whereas CD did not have Dak.
No.
And CD himself was injured too.
And he put up gaudy number still.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that Dallas is prime for it. Like I said, if Dallas doesn't win that division, I'm not going to be shocked. I could still see Philly winning 15 or 16 games, but I want to see how Philly does. They finally hit that Super Bowl with this group of guys, so now we'll see what can they do. So, all right.
It'll be interesting.
So, guys, we have come kind of to the end of the podcast. So what we're going to do at the end is we're going to give you guys a top 10 list every single podcast. So for this podcast, we have done our top 10 favorite Patriot moments, obviously being Pats fans. We had an embarrassment of riches basically my entire life for being a Pats fan. So what we're going to do is we're going to run down the list. We're going to go 10 through 1. We'll talk a little bit kind of each about each one, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to start it out. So for number 10, I have the Bill O'Brien and Tom Brady shouting match on the sideline where, what was his name? Tyquan Underwood had to get in between them. The guy that they just brought up to the team, I believe it was either that game or the week prior. They brought him up, and I remember I was watching the Games with Names. That's the Julian Edelman podcast, which is great. You guys should check it out. And Bill O'Brien was talking about that shouting match and how him and Tom got into it, and they were just telling each other to fuck off, and Tom was yelling at a receiver, and Bill O'Brien didn't like that Tom was yelling at a receiver, so he went over there and told Tom to fuck off. And I think that that's the only person I've ever seen tell Tom Brady to fuck off in his entire career and keep his job. I mean, maybe there was other guys around there.
Keep in mind, most quarterbacks wouldn't have kept their job either for yelling at the coordinator.
Yeah, true. But that shouting match, I mean, that is one of the most iconic Patriot moments. You ask Patriot fans about that, and
I got to tell you, I'm surprised that there isn't more of it, especially on the offensive side. I always say I could be an offensive coordinator. I could do the figure out. Defensive coordinators are geniuses.
Yeah.
You have to react. I could not be a defensive coordinator in a high school team. I don't think. Honestly, there's just so much to it. So they kind of play a different. But when you've got guys like dropping balls, and you got guys running the wrong route. I mean, we saw the Jets last year when Rodgers threw an interception. They were bugging him. Go, well, the guy said, if he would run his route, he's supposed to cut there. He's right there. The ball's his. He runs the wrong route. Interceptions. And the receivers, I don't know what it is about the NFL. I guess they just want big, fast, strong, stupid guys. Because there's a lot of receivers that do not run the right routes.
I think the thing is, though, is that the quarterbacks are there and the quarterbacks keep the piece for a majority of it.
Tom Leader is correct.
They were having a rough game. I can't remember who that was against. I wish I could. They were having a very rough game that game. Their offense was kind of sputtering. They hadn't done much. And I think they were driving down the field, if I remember correctly, and Tom threw it, and that guy wasn't there, and it resulted in a pick. And Tom was yelling at him on the sidelines, and that's when Bill O'Brien came out. Just shut the fuck up, Tom. And then it was just an all-out shouting match. So for me, that's number 10.
Number 9. This is great. I love it. It should have been better. It should have been better. If there's any way to ruin a guy's highlight of his career. Okay? So it was Connolly's 71-yard kick return.
Yes.
Now, what was Connolly weighing then? 330?
Oh, yeah.
He was 330.
Big offensive line. I remember.
He looked like the great A&W root bear, had the football in his hand and was running downfield.
I remember watching, I think it was Brandon Bolden, running like stride by side, and you could tell,
and blocking people.
Yeah, and it looked like Bolden was just out for a Sunday
slow
jog.
Motion.
Yeah, he was out there for a Sunday jog, and he's just jogging down there, and he's pushing guys' way, and you see Connolly, and he's running
his heart out.
He's huffing and he's puffing, and he's missing tackles, and when he breaks free from there, I think that was one of the best big man moments in all of NFL. And
they almost knocked him out of bounds, and he stays in bounds, and he struggles, and he fumbles, and he finally gets hit at about the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that he didn't get those extra 3 yards and get that one touchdown. I remember James Harrison did like a 97-yard one.
Oh, James Harrison,
for the Steelers, and
against Arizona in the Super Bowl. Yeah, they couldn't
hardly even run, but nobody could catch him. With Connolly, pretty much the whole team caught up to him.
Yeah, they just couldn't bring him.
And everybody was trying to block, and they were bouncing off him. Yeah, he got some blocks and some bounces. But yeah, unfortunately, he went down the 3-yard line. But it was still the greatest play of his career, and had the Patriots fans pretty happy.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 8. We got the famous tuck rule game. Everyone says this is what kickstarted the Patriots dynasty against, I believe it was the Oakland Raiders at the time. And I know that Tom's been on podcasts. He's talked about it with Charles Woodson and all that. And, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. All I got to say is that it was a rule. So moving on to number 7.
We're on to Cincinnati. Many historical events have a quick little phrase or something that seemed to turn the tide. And we're on to Cincinnati. It turned the tide. It turned the Patriots. Some people say it kickstarted the dynasty.
Again, the second, because we had just gotten shit kicked against KC. I think KC beat us 41-10. Alex Smith was still playing for him, actually. Yep. And we were 2-2, and everyone was saying, man, the Pats look like garbage. What the hell is going on? I remember they were talking about it was the end of Tom Brady. They were, Brady's looking bad out there. He's at that age now. But yeah, I remember when they had that press conference and Belichick said, we're on to Cincinnati. And I remember that's one of those things where, as a Pats fan, I mean, you go to games now still, you'll still see people wearing a T-shirt that says, we're on to Cincinnati. Like, it was just one of those
slogans.
Yeah, it was one of those things that caught fire. And I think it really, because the next week we came out there, and I remember we went for it on a 4th and 6, and you could tell the old Belichick and the old Brady were back, and they were pissed off. And that just that was really our second, basically almost our third dynasty run there for Tom at the end of his Pats career. So, all right, moving on to number 6, we got the 2014 AFC Championship game where we were down by 14 twice to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
As Pats fans, the Ravens were always a fucking thorn in our side.
Hated them.
They were one of those ones where...
And I hated Harbaugh. I hated Harbaugh, and I hated his brother Harbaugh. I hated Harbaughs.
And, but they were just always a thorn in our side. Joe Flacco, I always said there was 2 average quarterbacks that somehow always played the Pats tough. Sanchez and Flacco.
Sanchez, yeah. Last Jet guy to win against us.
Yeah, Mark Sanchez was one of those guys where he was a bad quarterback. But fuck, man, the Pats just couldn't... I don't know what it was. So...
It was their coach.
Yeah, so for me, that game was just one of those games where we sat... I believe actually you were at this house. And we sat upstairs, and I remember we were down 14 twice.
That was our first year in this house, actually.
Yeah, we were down 14 twice, and I remember I had friends texting me and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh,
when you're a Pats fan, people hate all dynasties. They hate all dynasties. They do, and that's why I hated the Cowboys, and I hated the Edmonton Oilers,
the Niners during that time.
I hated the Niners. Hated them. So I know as a Pats fan, there is no in between. Nobody likes the Pats. You either love them or you hate them. And believe me, all of our friends hate them.
Oh yeah.
And we would get texts. Oh God, man! When they played Manning, the Manning fans would all be texting.
Oh yeah.
It was when they were down against Atlanta. They'd be texting. We would get texts anytime something was not going our way in a game.
Oh yeah.
The calls would come. The texts would come.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, their fucking teams finished with 1 win that whole fucking season. So, but yeah, so that one for me, that was a great one.
I particularly remember, when they got down 14 the second time. I won't mention our friends by names, but some of the names were, AK would be texting and all those guys, which was just laughing at us.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, of course, we get the last laugh.
Felt like you always got the last laugh. So, all right, moving on to number 5.
The 2018 championship game in Arrowhead.
So this was one where I believe they made an entire rule change about playoff overtime because Mahomes never got the ball. The Pats won that was one when the Pats got the ball in overtime. They won the coin toss. I believe, was it Slater that called it or McCourty?
It was Slater.
Slater called it. Yep. And Slater said, we want the ball. And Brady completed 3 3rd and 10s. That was actually the game that Tony Romo really popped onto the scene with his announcing when he was saying, I'd shift Gronk here. I'd put Gronk out wide and run a quick slant if the safety drops into the box.
And sure as hell, that would be the play.
That was the play.
Romo could read it. He should be a defensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah. And that was the game where they changed the rule because Mahomes never got the ball.
Right.
And Tom drove down the field.
So the rule was that, if first team scores a touch, first team touches the ball, scores a field goal, the other team still gets the ball.
Yeah.
But if you score a touchdown, they don't.
Yeah. And Tom drove him right down there, and then when Sexy Rexy Burkhead ran in there for the thing, I remember we were in this house, so we were watching it, and I remember going into overtime. I had, we'll just say I had a Patriots hater text me, and
we had many of them.
And I remember he said to me, he goes, "You better hope Tom Brady scores a touchdown." And I remember writing back to him, "Don't worry, he will." And when Tom went down there, I tried calling him, and lo and behold, his phone was off. He knew as soon as Rex Burkhead crossed that line, he knew, oh fuck, I better turn my phone off because it's coming. So
he sold his house and moved to British Columbia after
that. Okay, so number 4. This was a big one for us. This was the Butler did it. Now, Pats fans, Malcolm Butler was that whole defense. I'll say that whole defense was unreal. Brandon Browner, Darrelle Revis, and Malcolm Butler. I mean, that was a cornerback trio that was like, I don't know if you'll ever see a trio.
For those of you that don't know what the Butler did, this was the Super Bowl against Seattle. Seattle was driving down, and they threw a certain pass to a certain tight end instead of letting Marshawn run.
No, it was the wide receiver. They ran the...
Was it the Canadian tight end?
No, it wasn't Luke Wilson. It wasn't Luke Wilson.
I bet you it was.
No, it was the wide receiver, but that's when Brandon Browner told Butler that he had seen it before playing for Seattle. He said, "You make a break for that ball because that's what they're going to do." He goes, "I'm gonna wrap my hands around this guy's throat." And when you look at the video of Browner jamming him, you can see his hands like right up on the guy. And Malcolm Butler made that play. That play, I mean, he did have another good season after the Pats, but that play made Malcolm Butler $60 million when he signed with the Titans. And that was one of those things where we thought as Pats fans, we saw another fucking Giants game because Tyler Lockett, the play before, well, I guess 2 plays before that, or was it Ricardo Lockett? It was one of them. No, it wasn't Tyler Lockett. No, it was one of the bigger receivers for them. He was on Butler, and he made that fucking, Javon Curse.
Yes,
it was Javon Curse.
That great big 16-foot reach.
Yeah, and he went up and he fucking tipped the ball and he caught it, and we thought it was another fucking helmet catch. And you even saw like the sideline. You saw Brady just get fucking like just the air went out of the Pat sidelines. But when the Butler did it, man.
Well, they had looked at that play on film. They studied it during the week.
Yeah.
And they had run it once that game already. And that's why Brandon Browner had identified what the play was. He says they're doing it again, and then he told Butler how we're going to play it.
So there's actually,
and it wasn't that bad. Everyone says, "Oh, he should have just given it to Marshawn Lynch." Marshawn Lynch lost yards 5 of the previous 7 carries he had. It was the end of the game. He was beaten and tired. He was a workhorse.
Oh, he's a workhorse.
And the Patriots defense had figured him out. They figured all the plays out.
Again, if you guys ever watch, you got to watch the Julian Edelman.
It wasn't a terrible throw either.
No.
Butler just out-muscled the big guy.
You got to watch the Julian Edelman podcast and watch the one with Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia breaks this play down, and it is amazing. And he was talking about how Belichick wanted this style of defense for 5 or 6 years prior. He wanted to have this play in the playbook. And Patricia was like, "Yeah, we don't really need it, dude. Like, no one..." And for some reason, this game, they put it in, and, the rest is history. So we'll move on to number 3 here.
Number 3. How? Well, the Atlanta Super Bowl.
Nope.
Sorry, I'm missing. Oh, yeah, sorry, I got number 2. Yeah, well, here we go. Here you're sitting in the soup. You're sitting on draft day, and, the rounds go by, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're on day 3, and you're at one pick. Yeah, God, it's almost pick 200. We're already at pick 199. We got a team. What are we going to do? And there's this lanky kid who had a horrible, horrible, horrible combine. And he didn't even want to play football in high school. His team couldn't win, and nobody wanted to play quarterback. And one of the coaches convinced this Tom Brady kid to play. Well, they start winning. So he goes to Michigan. And in Michigan, he's sitting, he's playing. We go through some of the names of the quarterbacks.
What was
that
he,
went
quarterback
through.
6 or 7 or something crazy?
And eventually he got chances to play. And he would go into games when they were behind, get them ahead, and they would put their starting quarterback back in.
Well,
because they were trying to get these guys a high draft position.
I think his last game ever, he beat Alabama, too.
Yeah.
As Michigan.
Yeah.
Maybe
So they're sitting on 199. And Belichick had been talking to the Michigan coach about this guy and that, and they just didn't need anybody else. So they, let's just take this Tom Brady guy. Let's take another quarterback. We got 5 of them. This way we'll have 6. And they drafted Tom Brady. It got no press coverage, as you can imagine. Nobody cared. Tom who? Well, and it wasn't a big quarterback here either. There wasn't a lot of quarterbacks came out that year.
No, I think
of
Chad
any value.
Pennington was the only one of value,
well,
really.
Yeah, and he was of 6 games in the NFL.
Yeah.
And when he went to the Patriots, he was 5th on the depth chart, and then he worked his way up to 3rd on the depth chart, and then some injuries came, and well, we all know what happened to Bledsoe.
Yeah.
He got one of those concussions that like we see a few like Tua's type of concussions so bad. He got hit so hard and so bad. And Brady stepped in, and the Patriots did the most amazing thing. We'd watch a young guy named Doug Flutie, if you remember him. But Doug was like 5'8" or 5'9" or something. And he played for Chicago, and he went 8-2, but they still took him out when the quarterback came in. He played for Buffalo, and they took him into the playoffs, and they brought Rob Johnson back for the playoff games. He was horrible. Buffalo lost. They didn't move on. And we see that a lot where they'll put the backup in. The backup will have a better record than the starter. But, hey, he's our starter, so when he comes back, he goes in. Well, they didn't do this.
And Bledsoe was the first $100 million man in the
absolutely.
NFL. So
yes.
For the Crafts owner back then, the Crafts to pay Bledsoe $100 million.
Number 1 overall pick.
And then for them to let, I guess, I don't even really know who had the final say. I'm sure they must have the final say back then, especially with $100 million investment on the line back then. I mean, you're going back, 25 years ago now. Yeah. So for them, to let Tom Brady stay basically, to let him continue to be the quarterback when they just paid Bledsoe, and I believe that was that the first year of his deal or second of that $100 million? That might have been his first year.
Oh no, it would have been like the second, because he went to the Super Bowl in '94, lost to Brett Favre and the Packers. That was that Bledsoe. That was his top year. Was when they went to the Super Bowl.
But of his $100 million deal, I thought that was maybe his. Anyways, it was early on in the deal because he had just signed that not long ago, and then for them to do that for us, I mean, number 3, that could easily be number 1, and Pats fans' favorite moments is getting Tom Brady drafted. I mean,
the great story. He was a young man. He's in the locker room at beginning of camp. And he goes up to Mr. Kraft, and he tries him. Mr. Kraft says, "I know who you are." Tom Brady says, "I'm going to be the best decision this team ever made.
This organization's ever made."
And he did it. All
right. We will go on to number 2, and I'll explain why this would normally be my number 1 when number 1 comes up. But number 2 is going to be the Edelman catch, or we'll say the Atlanta Super Bowl / Edelman catch. So here we are as Pats fans again. We're in the Super Bowl. And as we told you earlier, people like texting you when the Pats are getting the shit kicked out of them, because it didn't happen very often. So here we are, and we're upstairs at my dad's place again, and we're watching the Super Bowl, and the Pats are getting the shit beat out of them. It's not even close. They look terrible. Tom threw that pick 6. When he dove for that guy, it was like, I remember them saying when he dove for him, that looked like the end of Tom Brady's career.
Yeah.
He looked like he didn't want to be out there. That's what they were saying, and this and that. So I had friends, I should say now I had ex-friends that were texting me that were Atlanta fans, and they were saying, "Oh, your fucking team sucks," this and that. I had my Facebook was loaded with so much shit from people posting on my wall about the Pats being down at half, and then when they went down 28-3, that's when I was getting texts, this and that. And then the Pats scored. 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 And then
they needed 2 touchdowns in a row with 2 2-point conversions to do this.
And then came the overtime drive. And
one of my favorite Pats moments myself is that when they did the coin toss, they had a camera on Matty Ice, who's the Atlanta.
Matt Ryan.
He's the Atlanta quarterback. And playing against Tom Brady, who had come down from 28-3 to tie it. And Atlanta lost a coin toss. And Matty Ice, you can just see him on the screen. Fuck. He's like this. He's holding on to his. He goes, fuck. He knew.
Oh, yeah.
He knew they put the ball in Brady's hands. And they lost.
I remember.
They never got a chance to play.
I know, and I remember seeing Arthur Blank when he lost the coin toss. Arthur Blank he had the fist and he went, like he was like thinking, fuck, they're gonna do it. And I just remember overtime came. And all of a sudden, so I'll say the first touchdown came. Not many people were texting. The second touchdown came. Basically no one. The Pats tied the game. I had no one. Come overtime, my phone was fucking as dry as the Sahara Desert.
Sweet got both those two players.
And then when James White ran that touchdown in, who I still think he should have been the MVP of that game. He was fucking amazing for us.
He got the 2 2-point conversions as well, right?
Yeah, and he had 14 catches that game. He was crazy.
Great.
But I remember I was texting people. I was looking for anyone.
No replies.
No one would reply. No one would reply. So for us as Pats fans watching that Super Bowl, it was one of those ones where it was just.
So here's a little background
super
for
sweet. We'll just say it was super, super sweet. And all those people that were messaging us, I only had one buddy who's a diehard Eagles fan, and he never, ever, ever texted me during that game. I think that was about the only.
He did congratulate at the end, though.
He did, and he's a great guy. He'll be on the podcast sometimes too. You guys will see him. But
so a little background more on that game. The Pats had won their 3 Super Bowls in the early 2000s. In 2005, I got remarried. And new wife wasn't a football fan, neither was old wife, but new wife was not a football fan. And we lost the first Super Bowl that she was in the house.
Yeah, that was against the Giants in 2008.
Then we lost the second Super Bowl to the Giants.
Yeah, in 2012, yeah.
So when we clawed back into the playoffs again, Stu says to me, and I'd already given this all the thought and I knew what to do. Stu said to me, he goes, Dad, you know we won 3 in a row, yeah? And you know we lost the last 2, yeah? And he says, you know what the difference was? I said, yeah, Lisa was here, which is my second wife. And he says, he looks at me and I said, she's got to go. She's got to go. She can't be here. Now, I didn't divorce her, but she was banned from the house on Super Bowl days. This is a true story. You cannot be here. So we kick her out for the first Super Bowl. Boom, we win.
That was the Butler. That was the Seattle.
Was that okay? And then the next one that we won
was the Falcons.
Yeah. But they were down 28-3. And my daughter is Stu's sister. She's a massive, massive Patriots fan too. We were all watching the game, and she wouldn't let her boyfriend come over because he wasn't a football fan. And we're not having any nonsense during the Super Bowl. It's pure football.
Yeah.
Well, we were so far behind. They might as well come home. We've lost. So we let them come back. And they actually got to sit here and watch us. Well, they thought we were a little bit rabid as football fans. You should have seen us when they came back from 28-3 and won.
There's a recording somewhere out there.
And then she was allowed to stay for Super Bowls after that, by the way.
There's a recording out there somewhere of the last, I think, 15 minutes.
7 minutes or something?
Only 7? Okay.
7 minutes of game time, 15-minute recording.
Yeah. And it's just us going crazy. But as a Pats fan, I mean, that was one of the sweetest ones. So, all right.
28-3. That's still a great thing. There was actually a picture this year of 2 Atlanta players standing side by side.
I saw
number 28, number 3 at the OTAs.
And they had to take it off.
And they took it off. They took it off their Twitter account.
All right.
So yeah.
Number 1. So number 1 for a lot of Pats fans. I'm just gonna give you guys a little detail, and then I'll let my dad say it here. Number 1 for a lot of Pats fans is not our number one is not going to be a number one for a lot of Pats fans. So this list is kind of tailored for our favorite Patriot moments. This one is definitely very close and very personal kind of thing for us. So I'll let Dad say it then.
Yeah, so we're not a wealthy family that gets to go to any football game we want. We do try and get down to the Pats once a year. It's our big thing and stuff. But as circumstances arose and pennies from heaven fell into our lap one day, the Patriots advanced to the Super Bowl. And we looked into getting Super Bowl tickets, and, it was all a last-minute thing, and had to get time off of work and everything, but, just call in sick anyways. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and
we're not missing that.
It was the Rams and the Patriots, and it was Tom's last Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. And actually, the tickets are right behind here in my bar. They sit right behind me. And the... what would you call these things that you got?
The confetti. When the confetti rained down.
The game was fantastic, but at the end, my son says to me, he goes, "Wait here. Don't move. I'll be back." I don't know where he's going. Next thing you know, I see him running on the field, scooping up as much confetti as he can.
No, I was hopping the barricade. So we were in the back of the end zone, and they had these barricades where I think they didn't want people crossing over because the tunnels were there for the Patriots to go out on that side. So there was there were not necessarily barricades, but they had made between sections. They had made it more difficult to get over to the next section. So there I am, and there's a security guard running down, and he's telling me, "You can't hop it, you can't hop it, you can't hop it." And so I start giving him one of these. I'm like, yeah, I understand. So I hop it. There's this massive guy, and shout out. I remember you told me your name. I can't remember. Shout out if you ever hear this. I asked him. I said, "Can I get in front of you? I just want to pick up confetti." And the security guard's coming down, and he goes, "Yeah, go ahead." So the security guard starts telling me, and this guy turns around. Shut up! He just wants some confetti. He's gonna go back. So sure enough, I get the confetti. We end up. They end up gently asking us to leave because we weren't supposed to be on that side because that wasn't where our tickets were. But
most of the stadium had emptied out by this time too.
Oh yeah,
the ceremony was over.
Yeah, we had stayed behind. We had watched that.
Yeah,
MVP.
we were in what they called row 22, but we were only 12 rows up from the field because the in the end zone there, the seats didn't go right down to the
they
level.
had those
kind of that
private
wall,
boxes,
private boxes there.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of celebrities.
Just amazing seats right behind, and the only touchdown in the game was scored right in front of us.
I think we got to see all the points.
Yes, actually, all the points, even the field goals, were kicked our way.
Yeah, I think
the only field goal that went the other way they missed. It was LA's.
That was at the very end.
Greg
of the
Leg.
Yeah, Greg Leg shanked that 50-yarder or whatever like that.
Yeah,
because they had to get the point. But yeah, so for us, I mean, super personal. It was a rough 12 years prior to that. But for us there, the 2019 Super Bowl where the Pats beat the Rams, I mean, you got to see Brady host his last Lombardi with the Pats.
Yeah.
I think that was the last playoff game they ever won with the Pats because the next year they went in and I think the Titans beat them.
Did Mac Jones not win one playoff game?
No, Mac got blown out against the Bills. No, sorry, that was the last playoff game that we got to see Brady win. Because we'll see some other ones in the future here with Drake May, but that was the last one. And then that was, I think that was also Edelman's last playoff win ever.
It was. Edelman, that was another joy of that game, is it? There was nothing sweeter than when Brady got that bullshit suspension and he won his case in court, but the NFL ended up having the right to suspend anyone for anything they want.
Yeah.
So there doesn't even have to be any reason. Well, that year, if you remember, Brady won the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that Deflategate year. Yeah.
And it was just watching Roger Goodell have to hand him that trophy was just a piece of heaven, let me tell you. Well, the year of the Rams Super Bowl, Julian Edelman had been suspended 4 games for a substance violation.
He got popped for PDs, yeah.
And he kept on telling them, look, this is what I had. They had kept a list of everything. He said, let's look at this. Let's examine all these things where I bought and everything. But the NFL had no interest in it. He said, well...
He was coming off that knee injury and then...
But he said to the NFL, he said, if these things are illegal, we've got to find where they are. Like, he wanted to cooperate and let everything show.
You know why?
Well, he ended up MVP of that Super Bowl with 155 yards.
Yeah.
And their tape would later show that he went up to Brady and goes, they can't cover me. They can't just keep throwing me the ball. They can't cover me.
Yeah, I think he was really the only reason we were moving the ball Gronk had a couple big catches, but
Well,
Edelman was...
Gronk had 96 yards.
Yeah.
He had the big one in front of triple covered, diving catch on what, like the 3-yard line or something?
Right up the seam there.
Right in front of us on a one-handed diving. Yeah, it was just a thing of beauty.
Yeah, so for us, I know there's going to be a lot of Pats fans that don't even have the 2019 Super Bowl on their list. But for us as a family, where me, my dad, and my sister, we kind of got to go down. We got to see the last Super Bowl ever won for Brady in a Pats uniform.
Yeah.
Got to see Edelman raise a Super Bowl MVP. That was really the last time that the whole band of that dynasty was like Gronk. You had both McCourties. I know Jason come to later. You had Gronk. You had Jules.
Jason may have saved the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, right in front of us, Brandon Cooks was wide open.
Goff just took too long.
But Goff, one of the best things of that game. It was such a defensive battle. But Goff was running for his life. You want to know why he didn't have 500 yards? He didn't have time to stop and throw the ball.
No.
He was running for his life that whole game.
Yeah.
And Brandon Cooks had gotten wide open. And again, we hadn't scored a touchdown yet ourselves.
No.
And he's jumping, and he's right in front of us. He's jumping. Oh, no. And Goff finally sees him. He lobs the ball, but Jason McCourty had seen it from the other sideline.
He made a run.
And he had run over.
He ran his ass off.
And it was just a jump ball that he won, and I'm just thinking to myself, please don't flag him. Please don't flag him. Please don't flag him.
That was a perfect play, no. And I thought, too, maybe even Kyle Van Noy could have been MVP.
Oh, he had Goff running more than anybody.
That was probably the best game that
And then Stephon Gilmore had an interception.
That sealed it there.
And then Fat Boy he fumbled the ball, the running back there for the Rams.
Oh, C.J. Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah, the old chubby boy, he got chubbed up there a bit. And he dropped the ball somewhere around their 10 or 12 yard line. And it just bounced out of bounds before Gilmore had got it.
Well, because Gilmore
already had the interception at the other end.
Gilmore made the punch out, too.
Yes.
I believe Gilmore made him fumble that, and then he tried to roll on it, and the ball just rolled out of bounds.
Yes, I thought Gilmore would have been a potential defensive MVP. If you win a game 10-3, 13-3, and you got a guy who got an interception to stop the touchdown, and then punches a ball out and gets your team another touchdown on the other end.
Yeah.
That would have been the first since the Bears, I think, the last guys to win the Richard Dent.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up here, but we will be putting up another podcast, believe the start of next week, so you guys can check for that. Thanks for joining us today, guys, and have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.